Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Catherine Wilding. I'm Senior Partnership Manager at Clearer.io, and I'm going to be talking to you about the confidence framework and building confidence across the customer journey. And Brad?
Yeah, nice to have everyone here today. Thanks for joining. My name is Brad. For those who don't know me, I manage sales here at StudioForty9, helping merchants grow their business online. I'll be speaking about putting this kind of framework into practice with one of our clients who recently rethemed last year. Um, Before we kick off, are your slides sharing? I can't see them. I'm not sure.
Oh, can we not see them?
Might get a thumbs up. It could be just my view or something. Hang on a sec.
Okay, there we go. Can everyone see?
Yep, I can see it.
Brill. Okay, well, these are our beautiful faces that you can now see on the slides. And so sorry about that, everyone. So, today, I am going to be challenging a common assumption in e-commerce that growth is driven by isolated optimizations. We often think in terms of channels, tools, budgets, or tactics, aka how do we get more people to the site? But in reality, growth doesn't happen in silos. Um, and these questions, sorry, everything is going wrong for us today. Um, But in reality, growth doesn't happen in silos, and these questions assume the problem is volume, and that for brands who are looking to move into the next growth stage, it isn't. These brands already have brand awareness, following on socials, and have shoppers visiting their site with intent. This session is about understanding where these moments sit, what drives them, and why confidence is the underlying mechanism behind growth across the entire journey. So let's start with the simple idea of confidence. When we say confidence, we mean a shopper's willingness to move forward without hesitation. No persuasion, no pressure, just the absence of doubt. When confidence breaks, behavior changes instantly. People hesitate, they compare more, they abandon, or they simply don't come back. From a commercial perspective, that matters because confidence is directly tied to conversion rate, average order value, and lifetime value. But here's the important part. Confidence isn't created by a single feature or tool, it emerges across the entire experience. So, if we want to understand growth properly, we need to understand where confidence is built and where it breaks. And it can break at any point in this journey. Traffic numbers don't save you from that. And when we were kind of preparing for this webinar, Brad and I were kind of touching on this. So, I'd really love for you to jump in here and just confirm that this is something you guys are seeing on the agency side.
Yeah, 100%. Um, this is definitely the case for us. It especially becomes apparent for us in when we do our CRO audits, so when we're doing conversion rate optimization audits. Um, One sec now. Yeah, like for us, you're getting eyeballs on the site, you're spending money, traffic is there, but it's often things that you don't see that are causing the kind of friction in the site and things that go beyond analytics themselves. So 100%, yeah, that's definitely something we're seeing on a regular basis.
Yeah, whenever I think about this, I kind of put on my own consumer hat and try and think of it from that perspective. And like I go on holiday this weekend, so I'm doing the classic last minute, trying to find some items, for the suitcase. And I was looking for a black dress, went to a certain site, put in black dress into the search bar, and that's all it gives me. There's no other kind of suggestions given, like black linen dress or black summer dress. And it gave me like over 1,000 results. And the filtering was not helping me reduce that number to something that was manageable that I could actually find what I'm looking for. So, end up bouncing, going to another site that offers me those solutions and helps me find the product that I want. So I think it's always really helpful to also go through your own like consumer journey on your own sites to see like where that's breaking. So, as we've kind of called out, this does matter commercially, but what are the three main reasons that we kind of call out? First, confidence isn't just a nice metric. It directly moves CVR, AOV, and LTV, as we've said, and it summarizes all of these three together. So when you fix a confidence gap, you tend to see improvements across the board and not just in one of these numbers. Secondly, it doesn't form in one place. It's not just the product page or the checkout. It forms from the very first search query all the way through to whether they come back, like I said, suggesting in the search bar to try and kind of assume that intent of the buyer. And third, this is the most important one, it comes from things working together. So that site structure, discovery, proof, when these are siloed, confidence has gaps, and when they're connected, it compounds.
Yeah, we call this in StudioForty9, we call this like joined up thinking for clients of ours who are listening. You might have heard that before. Um, as a full service agency, we're always thinking along the lines of the entire kind of e-commerce operation, from paid retention, marketing, getting eyeballs on the site, all the way to user experience, product merchandising, down to even at the time saved in back-end ops, how that impacts customer experience. And for us, anyways, the clients we see that are doing the best are the ones that have these functions speaking to each other instead of operating in silos.
I love that. And like the silo is a real thing. And we see this in the tech stack as well. Brands have great individual tools, but they just aren't speaking to each other. The amount of times I see brands who have reviews, but then a UGC app, and then even a shoppable content app or a search, and then a merchandising app. When these aren't speaking to each other and sharing that data, that's where things break. And it's that joined up thinking that leads to a joined up setup, which segues really nicely into my next slide, which is our confidence framework. So we've built the confidence framework to kind of call out where it's built or lost, and we've called this out into four key moments. So the first one is discovery. Does this store actually understand what I'm looking for? This is where AI-powered merchandising comes in, understanding intent and guiding shoppers to the right products quickly. And it's also where reviews start doing work before someone even clicks, powering, ranking, filtering, and visibility in search. Decision. Is this the right choice for me? This is about surfacing the right proof at the right moment, products ranked by real performance and relevance, reviews that are summarized and actually useful, and not just a star rating buried at the bottom of a page. The third one is purchase. Will this work without friction? Bundles, recommendations, trust signals, or reinforcing confidence right at the point of someone's about to commit, and removing the uncertainty that kills checkouts. Delivery errors, unclear information, anything that makes someone pause. And then finally, relationship. Should I come back? And this is a stage where most brands underinvest in. Personalized rediscovery, post-purchase proof, loyalty and rewards. These are what turn a one-time buy into someone who keeps coming back. These aren't technical stages, the psychological ones. They map to how a shopper feels, not just what they click. And the key thing is that growth comes from strengthening all four. You can't just optimize one and expect meaningful results. As I said earlier, I think it's really important to put your shopper hat on and also go through your own site and see where each of these impact you. Think about the times that you've stopped shopping on a site. Why has that happened? Is that also happening on your store as well? So it's really important to go back and like explore that on your own site. So I just wanted to quickly go through the kind of the top two areas of where we see these things typically going wrong, starting with discovery. So you have shoppers arriving on your website with intent to buy something, but the experience doesn't help them move forward. So some of these points we've already kind of touched on, but the search is failing on basic things like misspelling or synonyms. The relevant products are buried 3, 4, or 5 pages deep. The filters don't match how people actually browse. It's such a bugbear of mine when I land on a site and the only filtering options are in stock and out of stock, and it does nothing but to move or reduce what is available to me. The recommendations ignore context or are generic. There's nothing worse than shopping for a swimming costume and then being surfaced work trousers. That's not why I'm here on your site or what I'm looking for. And then sometimes you're even surfacing products that aren't properly available. I think we've all been there when we see something, fall in love with it, and then it's not in stock. So what happens? That has people disengage, they leave. And more importantly, they haven't left because they weren't invested in your brand. They left because the experience didn't give them the confidence that they were in the right place. So discovery isn't just about navigation, it's about validation. And I'd love to throw this back to you, Brad, if any of these kind of points came up when you were kind of exploring the redesign with Art and Hobby.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, in terms of discovery, absolutely. You mentioned things like products not even properly being available. Everyone has been there, where yeah, you go to look for a product and you've spent all that time, the merchant has spent all that ad spend, and then it's out of stock. That's such a killer. What we did for art and hobby was on the PLPs on the top of the collection page on both mobile and desktop, and throughout the store, you can select the store that you're interested in collecting from at the beginning of the journey instead of at the end. So, say you're looking for paint, you can actually select St. Stephen's Green, and it will only show the products on the PLP that are in stock in St. Stephen's Green. You can also just select home delivery if that's what you're looking for. But it's such a simple concept, but it's improved their like PLP conversion massively. Just that simple change.
Oh my God, I love that. When there's something you really want, and I'm sure this is in like for the arts, the painters, when you're in that groove, you want to get your hands on that product as soon as possible. And then I think that's also a missed opportunity for some brands who have stores. People go to your store for the knowledge of your
100%.
what are they called, of your workers who are in that shop. And people go there to connect with your brand. It's a really great opportunity to connect with people online and in store as well. So that's really cool. I love that that is an option for art and hobby. And quickly on our second conversion killer, it's the trust signals. It's our decision making as the consumer. So even when a shopper finds something like they like, doubt creeps in. Reviews are often buried too late in the journey, so they're not actually helping make that decision when the decision is being made. They lack depth or relevance. They don't help someone assess whether this product is right for them specifically. There's no structured information to help them assess fit or quality. So there's no feedback or visibility from other consumers who have bought this. Is it, true to fit? Is it good quality? Is it fit for purpose? And there's very little real world proof. There's no customer photos, there's no UGC. And in the age of social media, these are really important. So the shopper pauses, and that pause is critical because hesitation is often where the conversion is lost. The key point here is that trust signals aren't just a nice to have, they're decision infrastructure. So if they're missing or poorly placed, confidence breaks and the numbers follow.
I have a question on that actually. I'm wondering, with regards to trust signals and reviews specifically, we get asked all the time, like, what is the best thing to do with reviews? Say, for example, should you only show like all 5 stars? Should it be a mix? Like, what should a brand do in the case if they have like a mixed kind of feeling on a product in particular?
I completely understand why brands panic that maybe they have mixed reviews, but it's really important. And that is also another trust signal. I think we've all been there when we've been on a site and there's only 5 stars, and that doesn't build trust. We're all human. You are going to get a mixed review. Your product might not be right for some people. So, to build better trust, you need mixed reviews. And also don't be really scared, don't be scared of the ones and twos or, the angry reviews that are left. That is a really great opportunity for you to represent your brand and your customer service of how you respond to these disgruntled shoppers. And again, that feeds back the trust. And also, that is an opportunity for you to turn a disgruntled one-off shopper into a lifetime customer. So don't be afraid of them. And it's also a really good call out because when you properly integrate reviews into your search and discovery and leverage that data through these review signals and survey responses, for example, all of it feeds back into that user experience. So it creates a positive feedback loop that you just don't get when the two are sitting in silo. So that takes me to um, what the confidence audit is. So rather than asking what tools we are using, we shift the lens to where does confidence break. We assess each stage, the discovery, decision, purchase, and relationship, and look for friction points. What's useful about this approach is that it moves the conversation from features to experience. It also naturally highlights where improvements will have the biggest impact and where things are already working. And from a commercial perspective, it helps shifts from reactive fixes to more structural growth planning. And now I'm going to hand over to Brad, who will kind of talk this through for art and hobby.
Happy days. Thanks, Kat. And thanks everyone for joining again. I think Catherine's framework gives a really useful way to think about this, the idea of confidence. I think confidence can also be kind of like it's so easily replaced with something like trust or friction, but I think confidence is a great way to flip it in a kind of a positive way. What I'm going to do now is talk about a specific retailer that was investing in growth, had strong brand recognition, was already in Shopify, but was still running into friction. A lot of that friction sits in the kind of areas that Catherine has just been talking about. So it's discovery, merchandising, and helping customers find products faster. So Art and Hobby, those who don't know, were a reasonably early adopter of Shopify back in 2022. They were feeling the ceiling on their OS 1.0 theme. So last August, we worked with them on a retheme to achieve greater merchant autonomy was kind of the primary goal, and then also access the best-in-class features that were available on OS 2 themes. We also partnered with Clear.io to upgrade their search and merch, so from Boost V2 to Turbo. Again, for those who don't know Art and Hobby, they're a household brand, best known for their supply of arts, crafts, toys across 23 stores nationwide. We have been working with them for 10 years this year. Originally, they were on Magento. We moved them over to Shopify Plus in 2022. So, starting with the homepage, we introduced new hero banners, category wayfinding, and navigational elements. They were designed to get the customers to products faster. The collection pages were also rebuilt with stronger merchandising and navigation capabilities. Product pages were also redesigned with a more modern layout, improved content hierarchy, and better product recommendations.
I did just have a little question. Which of these three pages made the biggest difference to the customer journey, do you think?
From what I can tell, looking at the data, it seems like the PLP has definitely had a huge lift in engagement, at least on site. So, a general uplift in PLP, kind of add to carts from the PLP, clicks from the PLP. We talk a lot about how the product page is almost like your second homepage, but definitely the PLP had a big impact there. So that's the collection page. Also helped by obviously
Mm,
having the ability to check those, the store specific availability.
amazing.
So before this webinar, I sat down with Art and Hobby's marketing executive, and Josh, who's the owner, and I got some really great feedback from them as to how the theme has kind of transformed their ability to sell online. One particular feature for them that we created was custom page templates. So on Shopify, for those who aren't aware, Shopify has the idea of a page and you have to build out a kind of template there. But unless you have that structure built, it can be quite custom. So what we did was we gave them all the kind of sections and blocks to be able to do this fully themselves, to be able to build rich no-code landing pages and campaigns in their own time to make, pages for brands or campaigns and things like that. So they were delighted with that.
Amazing. I love that because that's such a really good way of putting it. And it's like a confidence problem before you even get to the product. If someone lands on a brand page and it's just a generic dump and a collection, you've already kind of lost the thread of what they're looking for. So the landing page is where you kind of set expectation for everything. So that's really cool.
100%. Yeah, like we do a lot of that with clients where the actual like pre-lander for the collection is actually just a page that's been hacked into a custom landing page, but it works really well for a lot of our clients.
Amazing.
Um, Next up, we implemented what our kind of custom scheduled banners module. So this is a module that you can add onto the site that basically schedules any sections, but in this case, we were doing it for the hero banners. So this meant that promotions, seasonal changes, those kinds of things could be planned in advance rather than relying on manual updates. When I was speaking to the guys in Art and Hobby, I know they were particularly happy not to have to log in during the Christmas dinner last year to launch their Christmas sale banner. That was definitely a big plus for them.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and next one was the blog. So again, like the blog is obviously always a great form of content for organic ranking, things like that. But a big thing that we wanted to focus on for Art and Hobby was shoppable blogs. So we could shop the blog, we can add in skill level content and also video modules. Again, it was a really big one for them, the ability to just read a blog, let's say on the top 10 acrylic paints, and then be able to actually add those to the cart while you're going through the blog. So the common theme across all of this wasn't just making the website better. It was mostly about giving Art and Hobby as a team the confidence to be able to go and merchandise their store, and also the confidence for the customer to go through the experience. All of these improvements were assisted by an upgrade to Boost Turbo, which now utilizes what's called server-side rendering. So it makes the experience for Boost a lot faster on the front end. Turbo also has a much meatier list of AI-powered features, has a much better advanced visual editor as well. For me, I think my favorite thing about Turbo is the fact that you can now rank your product sort in the PLP automatically by reviews in real time with reviews.io if you have them combined. Um, but yeah, is that something you see a lot used in Clear, the kind of combo?
Yeah, definitely. In reviews, you're able to kind of surface surveys. So I kind of did a call out earlier of, true to fit or whatever kind of question that is going to fit into your brand and pull that into your filtering kind of aspect and kind of create that feedback loop. So it's really handy for sure.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, I would just love to kind of pull out the last point you had there as well. So built on like a clean structure, because that's the thing I want everyone to take away today. So Boost Turbo is doing what it does on Art and Hobby because the retheme gave it something worth working with. The catalog was clean, the structure made sense. So they worked hand in hand. Just putting Turbo onto a site is brilliant, but because of the migration that Art and Hobby did, that's where we're really seeing the impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose the real question is, did this actually move the numbers? So the retheme itself resulted in a pretty clear shift. So that was for both on-site engagement and also it contributed to an overall improvement in net sales by 28% since August 2025 when we rethemed. When you look at these kinds of metrics that are on screen now, these are all, metrics for search, collection, they're all discovery metrics. So to me, they're a sign that the customers are finding products, finding them quicker, engaging more deeply, and getting items in the cart with a lot greater confidence. So I suppose, we've done all our showing off and all our spiel and all this, but I think what we really want to do is provide some value for you guys as to how you can actually take this away and kind of get some value, make some kind of changes on your own sites. So these are a couple of examples of what we would do and what Clear.io we would be kind of recommending for optimizing Boost or optimizing, say, search and merch in general. The first one is checking zero results pages. That's always one to check. So, zero result searches that return zero. Synonyms are a big one and redirects for kind of common misses.
Just
No.
yeah, just to jump in there.
Sure, yeah.
The first two, the zero results, is honestly one of the most valuable things in Boost, I think. And a lot of people sleep on. Every zero result is a shopper literally telling you what they want. And if you've got nothing to show them, then that's the intent right there.
100%.
But the fix is usually pretty simple. 9 times out of 10, it's a synonym issue. Someone searching craft paint, and you've got it listed as acrylic paint. So they're the same thing. Boost just doesn't know that yet. So mapping those synonyms adds the redirects and those searches start converting. So it's some of the lowest effort and highest impact that you can work with.
Awesome. Yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, so for that one, another one here is aligning filters. So on how your shoppers actually browse, not just how the data model is set up. Another one I was pretty kind of saying it over and over again, but it's definitely a big one is surfacing reviews inside search and collection results, not just on the PDP. But even then, if you don't have reviews on the PDP, that's also highly important as well. And then tracking your search conversion rate against your overall site conversion rate, that'll be a really good idea as to like, is your search ultimately converting at the bottom of the funnel? That gap is a great thing to look at. And it's a great thing to kind of focus on closing. What I want to do as well is for those of you who are on Shopify, so there is a AI assistant in Shopify. I'm sure those who are using Shopify on a regular basis are familiar with it and are probably already best friends with Sidekick. But for those who don't know, Sidekick is Shopify's AI backend assistant. It started out as kind of like a little chat that would like give you some tips and things like that, but now it can fully control your store, produce reports, all in kind of in purely in the chat inside the back end of Shopify. So what I've done here is now you probably can't see it here, so feel free to try and screenshot. But what we will be doing is sending obviously the slides after the fact as well. But this is a big prompt that you can throw into Sidekick literally today, and it'll produce some insights related to the kinds of things we're talking about today. So wanted to see, I'd be curious to hear if anyone actually gets anything interesting out of it. But it should be able to produce some kind of report on that. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, so for the next slide here, I suppose it's kind of what I like to do is we get a lot of different people coming to us for the likes of webinars and different things. And there's definitely different, parts of the journey that people are on, and I always like to give some kind of specific guidance for those. So we might have people who are using Boost, who are on Shopify, who are not on Shopify, etc. So in the case of someone who, say, for example, has recently rethemed on Shopify, but are using Boost, but search and merchandising aren't really performing at par, that to me is a Boost optimization conversation. What can you do about that? That's things like working with someone like ourselves, Studio49, to help optimize your existing search and merch. But it can also be things like the audits that we can do joint with Clear.io, whereby you can actually review it as a kind of greater piece of work. Then also, if you have Boost in place, but maybe your site itself is a bit of the constraint. Say you're on Shopify and you maybe you're on your initial iteration of Shopify from the COVID boom days and you haven't rethemed since. Could be an idea to do either an upgrade to Turbo if you haven't already, or a retheme itself. And finally, if you don't know what to do, you know something's just kind of off. Typically speaking, our recommendation is something like a CRO audit. Plenty of our clients have done it with amazing results, greater guidance and confidence as to what to do next. So happy to speak on all those things. But the main thing is that they're all grounded in this idea of confidence. Confidence for the merchant to know what to do next to get growth, but then also confidence for the end user and the customer. So here's our final offer of the day. So what we're offering is a free kind of 30-minute search and merchandising audit with the teams at Studio49 and Clear.io. This QR code and the link when you get the slides will go into a meeting with myself, but we'll link up depending on where you're at in that journey. You might have Boost absolutely locked down, or you might not. So we'll triage from there. But if you are interested, you guys know my email. And email is brad@studio489.com. What's your email, Kat?
Catherine at clearer.io.
Yeah, so throw us obviously any questions related to that. But what we'll do now is we might pause for a few questions, really quick. I know we got some questions offline in advance, so we'll go through those really quickly. Meanwhile, you guys put your thinking hats on and feel free to drop a question in the chat if there aren't already any. I haven't looked at the chat yet, but there's two questions that we got before the call. Now they're pretty great questions in that they were really difficult to answer. So the first one was what website changes usually have the biggest impact on online sales? So I was pretty stumped by this question because it's so hard to kind of answer in one go. I was on stand up this morning at literally 9 o'clock asking the team like what do they think, and like the range of kind of responses was really interesting. One thing that our ecom consultant Dancho said is that 60% of traffic lands on the product page. So obviously changes to the product page will have that relative impact as well. So that might be things like pulling up your add to cart above the fold. I always tell people to like look at your product page on mobile, and if you can't see your add to cart straight away, you're losing money. It's like simple. Anything related to checkout, express payments, especially on Shopify, like if you're not using Shop Pay, you are missing out easily on 5 to 10% annual conversion rate increase. The ability for the global kind of address knowledge for Shop Pay is just next level. But ultimately, it kind of depends on vertical and business type. So, for example, if you're a supplements brand, the biggest impact on online sales might be in subscriptions. If you were an Irish heritage or a craft brand, it might be like super strong trust signals at the checkout, say for international customers. That might be like DDP and those kinds of things. Another one is reviews. Like reviews is a huge thing. And the reason why reviews is really important is because it has a kind of a two-edged sword now. Obviously, it's if you're not using them fully, it's a no-brainer. Like you absolutely need to be using them in 2026, both on the collection page, on your landing pages, and in the product page, and also using the UGC content that's generated that below the kind of product description. But also now with the use of obviously LLMs, AI, they're massively utilizing reviews for ranking you for AI search. One of the first things they do is they'll try and build trust signals on that. So that's definitely one thing. So I know it's not like a single thing that you can do, and I think that kind of it speaks to the idea of compounding things and joined up thinking where there's not generally one thing that improves online sales, but a combination of things in effect. But that's my long-winded answer to that question.
That was a really tough question.
Yeah.
I would just call out you kind of called out the use of LLMs within and pulling reviews from a lot of different places. that's something that we're really seeing kind of for our customers and obviously our share customers at the moment. Within reviews.io, we have a tool called Reputation Manager. And what this does is you're able to set kind of the percentage of reviews of where you want them to go. So you're able to kind of keep these different pages and environments up to date with up to date reviews. So, if you're across, say, your social media or Trustpilot or Yelp in Australia, that's still being used apparently. You can choose what percentage of the reviews go there. So when LLMs are scraping all of these sites, in 10 seconds, you're having like, recent reviews there. So you're getting a better search result back and able to kind of, what's the word? Be viewed in that way. So just a little call out. My question was equally as hard. Is Boost building agentic search model, i.e., I'm looking for the best gifts for Father's Day? The short answer is no, even though we do still have that sort of intent. So if you want to put in, black dresses over £300, we're able to pull that because of the data that has already been provided to Boost. It's Boost is improving towards that kind of conversational intent-based search, so that it's aligned for those, but it can't confirm a specific public, like we can't confirm a public specific roadmap for that. But today the results for those like use those natural language queries, and it's based on the understanding of how well the product catalog is structured within relevant titles, tags, descriptions, and meta fields. So if that was something that you wanted to surface, you would have to kind of do that in the back end. But kind of yes, kind of no. It just depends on the data that you put into Boost. And then from there, it can get the intent from other users on how they're searching on the site. So it will learn at the same time. Yeah. I
Awesome.
can't see the chat, so I'm not sure if there are any more questions.
There's no questions as such. I don't think there is one note on the blog that it's hard to find on Art and Hobby. So I'm gonna go give Art and Hobby a big scolding, where they've hidden their blog. But no, Karen, I'll take a look and see what I can find. I might even just drop you a line after this. Save the painful trying to find it myself live demo. But no, I think that's unless I'm missing anything, I think that's it. Just want to say big thanks to everyone for joining. I don't know, can't remember the exact time on this webinar is supposed to be, but I think we might have given you a few minutes back there, for a little bit of a break there. So from Studio9, thank you so much for joining. You guys know what to do if you need to get in touch.
Yeah, have a good day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.